Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 8th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Sunday. Hopefully it was a fun day for you. I know my Sunday was overall a very good day. My weekend was a great one. We can go ahead and just do a solid breakdown. But yeah, let's start at Saturday evening, post recording the last episode. Took a little bit of a nap, got up, and then got myself ready to go to Northside, hang out with the homies, and it was a great time. So we start at Chameleon, so very classic start for us, and I wind up getting at least 3 slices of pizza. I got a veggie slice that had feta, some greens, some mushrooms. It was like fully loaded. It was very yummy. Honestly, like it was giving like veggie supreme, like that kind of energy, but very, very, very good. Then I got a pepperoni slice, and then the all-star of the night, I got a shepherd's pie Bianca slice. And boy howdy, that was a banger. Very yummy, very hearty. It had all the, I guess, accoutrement you would expect for a shepherd's pie on a pizza. I don't know. That's the best way I can convey it. But yes, very yummy. Then I also got an order of fries. Now, my friend, he got a slice of pepperoni in what he had thought was a slice of the shepherd's pie pizza as well. But it was taking a little bit longer for the shepherd's pie pizza or the slice to come through. And we're like, okay, whatever, that's fine. Maybe I'm busy or something. And then next thing you know, they dropped the whole pizza on the table. They're like, here you go. He was like, what? And essentially, I guess, he had gotten misheard or something like that. That's mostly like what I'm thinking. I'm actually going to blame that on the cashier, but whatever. So he wound up with the whole pizza, and he's like, hold on, I gotta call the old lady. Because essentially, that's changed the dinner plans at home. And not to mention there's gonna be leftovers for, maybe the next day, something like that. But we'll get to that later. No. So, we've got this whole thing of pizza, so we drop it back off at the house, and then we go back out to Northside Tavern. Some more drinky poos, just hanging out. We get some coffee after some rounds, and then we close out at Junkers for the night, the old Junkers. And overall, just very, casual, cool situation. We're hanging out, just kicking it, vibing, a lot of beers. But I want to say within the last maybe like 30 minutes or so of us being at the bar, and this is something we had kind of talked about in the group chat about doing car bombs. And I was like, no, I'm still down. Like, I definitely am down to do one. So me and a homie, we get the logistics set up on like, do we have everything that we need to get a car bomb? Like, and the bartender's like, yeah. So we set up for that. We do that. And boy, howdy. That really put a hammer on me for the night. I was just like, it felt like I had taken like stun damage. Like I was a fighter who was just like super woozy. Also, not to mention too, we were drinking beers, but I've kind of made it a habit over the past like few weeks to take a shot with the bartender. It's a good vibe. I feel like it's good energy to do so, right? It's like, giving a coin to your witcher or something. I don't know. But tonight we had a shot of Screwball, and it wound up being like some kind of peanut butter whiskey, which is also pretty good. So the culmination of all of these things are kind of welling up in me. And, I'm just kind of wobbling around a little bit, but I'm steady. I'm fine. And we get back to the house, and we watch some SmackDown. We chilling. But also, come back around the pizza, the shepherd's pie pizza. I wind up having, like, I think maybe 2 more slices of that. And one of the slices, we had some hummus, and I just slathered like hummus on top of the shepherd's pie pizza. And I'm sure you're asking, why would you do that? What compelled you to? I just wanted to. The voices, I don't know, whatever. They won, and it was yummy. It was the correct move. So I have all that. We're chilling, we're watching SmackDown. Once that's over, we all turn in for the night. Game over, man. GG's, good night, good run. I wake up maybe like a couple hours later. I get up, I head home, I go back to sleep. Once again, very classic Saturday night into Sunday morning. Once I wake up, kind of let myself chill a little bit. I get to the grocery store, I want to say around like noonish or whatever. Pretty busy, but I was able to get all my groceries. Take said groceries, go home. From the house, I wind up going to the gym. Gym wasn't too bad. I will say I'm still in that take it easy phase. At least taking it easy for my standards for the weekend. I think our heaviest list for like 275. So for me, it's like a medium heavy day. But yeah, we hit the Smith machine. We got on some free weights, and then we did some core work. I did about 15 minutes on the Stairmaster, and I had realized, I'm like, hey, I should do laundry. and I hated this realization, but I just knew that I'm like, if I wait Monday or Tuesday to do it, I'm going to be busy, in between work and trying to go to the gym and all that. Like, it would just be a better use of my weekend time, which I'm just, supposed to be chilling, whatever, just getting that done, just getting that over with. So I cut my gym session a bit early at the Stairmaster after that. And then I go home, collect all the laundry, go do said laundry. And luckily there's no hitches, there's no problems. We get that all done and wrapped up. I come home, I have a bit of a stretch, no snack. I did have that earlier in the day post, I think, it was post the gym. I just had that. But yeah, I did actually stretching, I think, then as well. So yeah, so no stretching, no snack, just kind of come home, get all the laundry folded up, and we do some research. So, we actually have some news to talk about today, some things to yap about. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. Also, nice that the weather is, turning around. It was a really nice day. It was one of those situations where you could just wear a hoodie for most of the night and felt pretty good. We love to see it. Had the Crocs on, so we love that. Yes. Ooh. Also, shout out to any of the homies who hit me up about the car issues, stuff like that. That's holding up okay. We doing all right. Overall, just driving a bit, we're driving normal. Nothing's changed. Just, that extra light's on for me. So yeah, there's that. Ugh. All right. Our first story comes from the Los Angeles Times. Khamenei's son is selected as Iran's supreme leader. 7th U.S. service member killed. The U.S. and Israeli war against Iran entered its 9th day, Sunday, with no clear path towards de-escalation, as the U.S. announced a 7th American service member had been killed, and Iranian state TV reported the selection of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son as his successor. Meanwhile, the price of oil surpassed $100 a barrel for the first time in 3.5 years. President Trump said deploying American ground troops to the Middle East remains under consideration, and Iran's foreign minister rejected calls for a ceasefire. Excuse me. Trump said last week that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of 86-year-old former leader who was killed on the first day of of U.S. attacks and Israeli attacks, would be an unacceptable choice to replace his father. The clerical body in charge of choosing Iran's next supreme leader chose him anyway, state TV reported Sunday. The younger Khamenei, a 56-year-old Shiite cleric, has never held government office, but has long been a quiet force within his father's inner circle. As supreme leader, he will play a central role in deciding Iran's war strategy moving forward, with the powerful paramilitary Islamic Revolutionary Guard troops answering to him. Let's see here. There's some more, a couple details I wanted to hit. The U.S. military on Sunday announced that a U.S. service member died Saturday night from injuries sustained March 1st in Saudi Arabia during Iran's initial attacks on U.S. allies and facilities across the region, in response to attacks from the U.S. and Israel. The service member was not immediately identified, pending notification of family. In addition to the 7 U.S. service members killed in the war, a National Guard soldier died Friday of a health-related incident in Kuwait, where he had been deployed, the military said. The cause of death was under review. Other deaths were also reported in the region. Israel reported 2 of its soldiers were killed in fighting in southern Lebanon, the first military deaths of the war, while Saudi Arabia reported 2 people were killed and 12 wounded by a military projectile that fell in a residential area of Al-Kharj. The death toll in Iran has been difficult to nail down, but Iran's ambassador to the UN on Friday put the number at more than 1,300. Let's see here. So yeah, those are the main statistics, main things I wanted to touch on in terms of just an update from, the war front in Iran, and which has been going on in Iran in terms of them picking a new successor. So it definitely is seeming that, okay, we are not doing the regime change like, was maybe floated by the Trump administration or whatever. It seems like that's going to just continue on as is. And I guess we will see, what the U.S., what Israel plans on doing, for the remainder of this war, and how long they really do want to conduct it, and how brutal they want to get. I don't know. But yeah, we're starting off with that. Moving on, I'll call this next story, I'll say it's good news, good-ish news, good adjacent, good as I can see it. I don't know, whatever. We'll take it. From NPR, a new Nepali party led by an ex-rapper is set for a landslide win in parliamentary election. A Nepali political party led by an ex-rapper is set for a landslide victory in the country's first parliamentary election since Gen Z protests ousted the old leadership that has ruled the Himalayan nation for decades. The Rastriya Swatantra, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, my bad, or the National Independent Party, formed only 4 years ago, had won 103 of 165 elected seats and led in 21 other constituencies in the results published Sunday morning by Nepal's election committee. Other political parties and independent candidates had won 27 seats in total so far. Officials were still counting the votes Sunday, and final results were expected later in the week. The party's prime ministerial candidate is rapper turned politician Balendra Shah, who won the 2022 Kathmandu mayoral race. He emerged as a leading figure in the 2025 uprising that ousted former Minister Kadada Prasad Ali. In Nepal, voters directly elect 165 members to the House of Representatives, the lower chamber of parliament. The remaining 110 seats in the 275-member body are allocated through a proportional representation system, under which political parties are assigned seats based on their share of the vote. On Sunday, RSP also led with about 51% of 110 seats. So yeah, this was some news I didn't expect. I feel overall, good talking about this. I don't obviously know too much about the details about their party or Shah. specifically, but I feel like it's a situation that could have been worse, could have had a worse outcome. So, I mean, and of course, maybe it could have better, but I mean, that's given perspective or my own biases, whatever. But overall, this seems like a good thing, and, happy to see how this is going to pan out, how things are going to turn post elections. Obviously, ink isn't dry on this or anything like that. This is just, what is projected. But I feel good kind of just talking about it now. And if there are any changes, any surprises, then we'll come back for an update. But yeah, that's probably the good news for the episode, maybe even for the weekend. But yeah, let's go ahead and hit our next story. Actually, let me take a water break. Ugh. All right. From CBS News. FBI launches terrorism investigation after a homemade explosive device ignited outside of NYC Mayor Mamdani's residence. Two devices thrown outside New York City Mayor's residence on Saturday contained explosive materials and fragmentation that could have killed and maimed numerous people, the FBI confirmed late Sunday. A federal terrorism investigation is underway, and terrorism charges are pending. Two people from Pennsylvania were arrested outside of Gracie Mansion, which is the home of Mayor Zohran Mamdani and his wife, on Saturday afternoon, after a suspicious device was ignited. New York Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch told reporters on Saturday that an anti-Islam protest was organized by people associated with Jake Lang, a pardoned January 6 rioter and far-right influencer. A group of counter-protesters numbering more than 100 also gathered, and two young men from Pennsylvania, angered by the anti-Islam protest, brought the homemade bombs to the gathering, intending to cause harm, law enforcement sources told CBS News. So we've talked about Jake Lang a little bit before in the past. He was involved in some of the fucking protest stuff in Minneapolis. He more or less got his ass fucking beat. It seems like he is just going to keep taking the show on the road. And I feel like in the same way, he kind of got what he wanted in, Minneapolis, where, he just got to make an ass of himself and draw attention to himself and say, see, look at these violent protesters. Look what they did to me. I was just coming here being peaceful. No, bro, you were coming here to be belligerent. You were coming here to rile people up, and you got what you wanted. And of course, this happens here as well. Essentially carrying on saying that, it's fucked up that people are allowed to do Muslim prayers in public. Like, that's a problem. And you're saying this out front of, the mayor's mansion, who is Muslim. You're trying to make this fucking statement. Okay, congratulations, you fucking did. And not to mention, icing on top, you pissed people off enough that they actually brought an IED and said, we're going to fucking use them things. The NYPD's bomb squad sent the devices to the FBI's Quantico lab for analysis. One of the devices was determined not to be a hoax device or a smoke bomb, but instead it was an improvised explosive device, or IED, that could have caused serious injury or death, Tisch said in a statement Sunday. The FBI and NYPD later confirmed both items to be IEDs, the Bureau's New York office said on X. Let's see here. They do have some of the details about the bomb, or about the explosive device. We'll say it that way. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead on that. Let's see here. Actually, we're going to go ahead here. The device was safely removed for further testing, the NYPD said later Sunday, providing CBS News with an image of a black vehicle that was searched by the bomb squad. Let's see here. I'm kind of scrolling ahead here, skipping a bit. Let's see. According to Tisch, the first device thrown by Balat extinguished itself after striking a barrier in a crosswalk a few feet from police officers. Balat then ran away and allegedly retrieved a second device from 19-year-old Ibrahim Kayumi, lit the device, and started running with it before dropping the device, Tisch said. Balat and Kayumi, also from Pennsylvania, were taken into custody. Police arrested a person identified as 21-year-old Ian McGinnis, who allegedly used pepper spray on counter-protesters, and 3 others on disorderly conduct and obstruction charges. Now they are looking into Balat and Kayumi in terms of their travel. They do mention earlier that they think that this was they potentially were inspired by some kind of ISIS messaging. AKA they're setting up the ties to be like, this was like a terrorist thing, actually. They were activated in the moment, or da 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 da. But, that's just setting them up in the strings and say, oh, okay, we're investigating it, and da 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 da. And you can kind of think what you want from that, right? So that is what that is. I do kind of want to close out, let's see, with this. In a statement on Sunday, Mamdani specifically mentioned Lang and said the protest outside Gracie Mansion was rooted in bigotry and racism and has no place in New York City. It is an affront to our city's values and unity that defines who we are. He did not name the two men who are arrested for the IEDs. Instead, he said the attempt to use an explosive device and hurt others is not only criminal, it is reprehensible and the antithesis of who we are. And I respect Mamdani for, making that quote on the latter part about the IEDs, about, the two guys who did what they did, but also making sure that we're anchoring the focus on the fact that Lang came through to do a protest that was just there to spread hate. Because at the end of the day, that's the core of this fucking shit. And I feel like there's so many politicians, just in general, especially these days, that wouldn't want to focus on that. That wouldn't even touch on that, think about it, feel like it was worth, talking about. But, it's the most important part, in my opinion. So I'm very glad that Mamdani, made the statement that way, the way he did it. So, to be honest, I appreciate it. I don't know. But, yeah, leaving that story there. Another pop-up moment of violence I didn't expect to be covering about, but we are actually going to Rihanna's house to close out the episode. But yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break and we will end it there. Ooh. Mm-mm-mm. Ooh. All right. Our last story comes from KIRO7. I just chose to use the local one because it kind of had all the things I needed for this article, for the story. Rihanna's home hit by 10 bullets. One person arrested. According to the Los Angeles Times and TMZ, a 20-year-old woman was arrested after firing at least 10 rounds at the singer's house. A law enforcement source told the Times that one of the bullets went through one of the walls, and the singer was home at the time. Police Sergeant Jonathan De Vera confirmed to the Times that no injuries were reported. This isn't the first time the singer has had something happen at her home. In 2018, a 27-year-old man hopped a fence and broke in, according to the Los Angeles County District Attorney. The man spent about 12 hours inside before Rihanna's assistant saw him. He was ordered to stay away from the singer for at least 10 years. That's crazy. That's wild to have fans like that. I mean, granted, I don't know about this 20-year-old woman. What was her intentions? What was she about, or whatever? Or even the man. I don't know how you get here where you're like, I'm trying to violate this person's personal space, or I'm trying to kill them, whatever the intent. That's unfortunate to see and cover. It's a scary situation for sure. But I'm glad that Rihanna and her family are safe. Rihanna Navy, stand down, everything's okay. But yeah, I literally read that before I went on. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and put that on the back end. We'll talk about that a little bit. Like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, sorry. That's it. That's all I have for today. That is the episode. On Sunday, I don't like to shill, so no promo stuff. We're good there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.